Hey Internet, hey boys, it's February 2nd, 2025, and 2 days ago, on Friday, I served a bunch of scumbag judges, lawyers, district attorneys, and law enforcement officers a federal civil rights lawsuit in California. Tonight, we're going to watch Susan Bassi follow Mark the process server as Judge Cindy Hendrickson of the Santa Clara County Superior Court gets served. We're going to listen to Susan tell us some important lessons about the Santa Clara County Court. Unfortunately, she had some camera trouble while she was filming. It was a live stream. She filmed it sideways. It was super jiggly. So I'm going to take up most of the screen tonight, and we're going to watch and listen. It takes a lot of work on Susan's part to do these things. She spends a lot of money on gas, records request fees, and all kinds of other kinds of fees. So please go over to her channel, give her a subscription, give her a like, give her a membership, and maybe send her some money on PayPal to help her pay for these endeavors.
This is Susan Bassi, and I'm outside the family courthouse in Santa Clara County, and I'm going to wait for people to come in, and we are going to do a special little live follow right now. We're going to talk about a federal lawsuit being filed against some of the judges inside this courthouse. And so here's Mark the process server coming down the street. He's wearing his red shirt today. And hi, John. Nice to see you. We got Mark the process server coming at us right now.
Back in Santa Clara again.
I have my special mic, so when you want to talk, you have to talk like this.
Back in Santa Clara again.
Not loud, though.
And it may be a rainy day, but you are a bright sunshine, Susan.
Thank you, Mark. He's also a little schmooze. So can you guys hear us okay? I want to make sure that you can hear us with this mic. Give me a thumbs up. Not you. You can't see whether or not. Okay, we're going to walk to the front of the courthouse. It'll be a little warmer over there and less windy. So hi, Leslie. Nice to see you in. And we are going to follow Mark the process server. He is following. We're going to go back to the courthouse, and I'm not going to go in the courthouse because there's
a legal First Amendment restraining order.
Because, as you know, they prosecuted me for 6 years for recording in that courthouse, recording the police officer who broke my hand. So today, Mark is serving.
I'm serving for Michael Sternberg, a plethora of judges, including the state Supreme Court Judge Patricia Guerrero.
And you did that earlier today.
Yes, I got Patricia Guerrero first in San Francisco. I've also come down here. I've also served the DA Jeff Rosen, Mr. Borski, and a host of others in that office, and Santa Clara County at the Board of Supervisors. And now we're going to finish serving the rest of the local judges here at the courthouse.
Okay, so we are going to talk. I'm going to talk about this lawsuit, why Mark is in there. And as you know, I can't record, so I'm going to stand outside when he goes in. And then when he comes out, he'll talk about what it was like to serve and not be able to record. Because Mark, when you went to the county today to serve Jeff Rosen, Jay Borski, and you served the sheriffs at the supervisors, is that what you did?
No, ma'am. You said that we'd meet here to get them served with you.
Yeah, so we're going to go over to the sheriff after, but you didn't go to the Board of Supervisors.
I did go to the Board of Supervisors.
And who did you serve there?
The lady at the counter took it for the county.
Okay, so that's for the county.
Yeah, if you want her.
So he took video of that. And so for those of you who don't know, for 5 years, I have been restrained
illegally
from going to the courthouse, going to the county buildings, because there were two political appointees, Casey Halcone and Nicole Ford, who said that I was scaring them and they couldn't do their job. Nicole Ford, I said, should recuse herself from the Domestic Violence Council and report herself to the bar. And she said that made her cry all the way home. So I can't go follow Mark to those places when he's serving.
Hey, I would cry if I had to give up that much money too.
So Mark's going to go in and serve. We have the video. He did take video earlier today, but he's going to go in and he's going to serve. Mark, who are you serving? What judges are you serving?
In this one, we're serving Cindy Hendrickson, Brooke, Blecher, Roberta, Hayashi, Tom Kuhnle, and Beth McGowan.
Okay, not Rebecca Fleming?
Not listed on this.
Okay.
They
Okay.
might be on the other one in the car. We can check that out when I come back out.
Okay. Okay. So while Mark's there, I'm going to talk about what I've seen in this case. So we'll talk to you when you come out and you'll tell us what it was like when you
hear me singing, another one bites the dust.
Wait.
When you hear me singing, another one bites the dust.
So there goes Mark. He's serving for Michael Sternberg. And I want to tell you that I did a media request in Michael Sternberg's case. And I saw firsthand what was happening. And what they did in that case was Michael is a father who is living in Nevada with his children. And he wasn't married to the children's mother. And so his baby mama was arrested for a DUI. And when she was arrested, she got a DUI and the children were in the car. And so he took custody of his children, his two boys. And while he had custody of the children, she ended up getting her DUI charges dismissed. She was the daughter of a high-ranking Apple executive. Yes, whoever asked me, John, you asked if that's father in exile. Yes, Michael Sternberg is father in exile. So he's been putting his videos up online about his federal case and what he's trying to do. And so what Michael is struggling with are the issues that so many people struggle with, and they end up spending a fortune on attorneys, and the judges are just ignoring due process and any constitutional rights. And so what Michael is suing over are a few important things that affect everybody. First of all, Judge Cindy Hendrickson, so let me go back to what happened to Michael. So his baby mama gets arrested for a DUI. The police reports are horrific. There were two children in the car, which was child endangerment at best and probably felony charges. And so what ended up happening was when her criminal case was dismissed, she then came back to Nevada, was living in Nevada, and decided she wanted to bring the custody case back here. And so they were living in Nevada. So I want you to picture this, because Nevada is where the Chili DeCastro trial was. And we saw how that judge treated Chili. And whether you like Chili or not, whether you agree with what he's doing or not, I watched that proceeding and it reminded me of a family court proceeding. And the judge seemed incredibly biased. And as you know, that got overturned, but it didn't stop Chili from spending some time in jail. And so similarly, we see that happen in family court cases. And what happened in this case, and there is a video, I think it's up on Father in Exile's videos. If not, I know I've done a little clip of it, but they used to have recordings in the courtrooms in Nevada. And so Michael's family law case is recorded there. And there were some Nevada attorneys, and they were debating over where the custody case should take place. They were all living in Nevada. And while they were living in Nevada, the children were enrolled in school, and the mother decided to try to get the case back here. And I saw Judge Hayashi zoom in, and it was interesting because the judge in Nevada said, well, normally we can work these things out, and these people are registered to vote here. Their children are enrolled in school in Nevada. So why would the case move back to California? And it wasn't clear, except that Judge Hayashi seemed to be kind of bullying to get the case back to Santa Clara County. And the mother's relationship with Apple and the significant wealth that this area has brought to Apple, that Apple has brought to Silicon Valley, was kind of an issue. So Michael ends up back in a custody case here in Santa Clara County, even though he's living in Nevada, and he's battling for his kids. They do a full custody flip. The case ends up in front of Judge Cindy Hendrickson. And first, I think it was first in front of Hayashi, and then it ends up in front of Judge Cindy Hendrickson. And while it's in front of Judge Cindy Hendrickson, he loses full custody. So these are what we call custody flips. And it's when, usually for no reason at all, I'm gonna let that siren pass. An ambulance. So these custody flips are happening more and more. And usually what we see are patterns in that there's not necessarily a criminal case or a public safety issue or an issue. It seems to be more a game of the lawyers acting as minors counsel, supervised visits, therapists, because when there's a custody flip, then the courts start working to restore custody. And that can take years and often never happen. And so what happened in Michael's case was he had to start battling and paying attorneys. And he was fighting two attorneys in particular, Christina Adams and her husband, I can't remember his first name, but it's Ashelman. And Father in Exile can type that in if he's watching this. And they're the ones who are in my video where Mark Andrews went to go serve at Christina's office the last time he was in Santa Clara County. She wouldn't accept service. And so another Mark had to go to Santa Cruz to serve her at home over the Labor Day weekend. And she unleashed her dogs on that Mark. And there is currently a criminal complaint and possibly a civil complaint against Christina Adams, who is an attorney and unleashed her vicious dog on Tristan. Thank you, Father in Exile, for reminding me it's Tristan Ashelman. And so she unleashed her vicious dogs on the other Mark. And then we had a sheriff deputy, Deputy Torres, write a declaration saying that Mark Andrews and I had been there and we were harassing the attorney. So attorneys who use the subpoena process and lawsuits every day to make their income, when lawsuits are filed against them, they consider it harassing. And so we're seeing a real pushback on that right now with the attorneys. And I have to tell you, every single one of you that comes in and watches these videos, supports it, you help us put information together about the patterns that we see with judges and attorneys. You help us put together information about these custody flips, how much money it's costing parents, and most recently, the issue related to minors counsel and how much money that is costing taxpayers when the parents can't afford to pay. So again, I want to remind you of all the tricks they can do to you in family court. They do a custody flip, you're suddenly losing time with your children. Sometimes there's only a civil domestic violence restraining order filed, and that is used for the custody flip. Almost always that's kind of related. And then after the custody flip, we see judges appointing minors counsel, custody evaluators, and each one of these people can mean tens of thousands of dollars, more legal costs than you would ever spend in your lifetime, simply because you're in a custody or a divorce case. And so that was what was happening to Michael. He was fighting for his kids in another state where he didn't live. So then he had to get attorneys from California. So I'm going to tell you another little secret that the attorneys don't want you to know. And that is that the attorneys, even though the law says, and when you're in court representing yourself, you'll hear the attorneys say this over and over again. Well, you have the responsibility to act as your own lawyer and know the law, just as if you were a lawyer, to defend yourself if they don't appoint a lawyer or give you attorney's fees. Well, the law says that we have to be treated equally with lawyers when we're in court. But what the judges do is they naturally favor the lawyers, and the clients really are kind of noise. They just want to make sure that somebody's paying these attorneys. And the attorneys who are going against a self-represented party don't win because they know the law or because they have extra legal expertise. They usually win because they've been buying free lunches for the judges. They've been grooming the judges to rule in their favor. They've been sending business to judges for, thank you, Mr. Douglas. I really, really appreciate that. That helps us with gas and all of our other costs that we have in doing these videos. So I much appreciate that. So attorneys are in these local bar associations. They have the clubs and the meetings and the free lunches, like we saw last week when they called the San Jose police on me for recording that. Bill Dresser was in that video. He's one of the attorneys that is pretty notorious around here. And so that's what we see are these patterns of certain attorneys getting favorable wins from the judges. And it's not based on law or what public policy is, because public policy is that family courts are supposed to just divide people and get them on their way. It shouldn't take more than a year, but we're seeing these cases drag out 10 years because the attorneys have figured out they can make a bunch of money from it, and the judges are helping. So we're going to talk about specifically Cindy Hendrickson in Michael Sternberg's case, because, and Father in Exile, remind me, did I do a media request and that was denied by Cindy Hendrickson in that case? I can't remember what happened with that, but let me know if that was what happened, because I recall watching that case, and I don't know if it was that I read transcripts after the fact, or I saw it, or I made a media request. But what was the most outrageous about Michael Sternberg's case is that when he was representing himself, he asked for electronic access to his file. Now, let me explain what that means. The attorneys are called in this courthouse justice partners. That's just a term they made up, like they want to make it themselves out to be superheroes or something. So the attorneys make up this term justice partners, and the judges treat them differently. And the ways that we see them treat them differently is, I'll see if the sign is here. I think it is. But one of the ways that we see them treat them differently is when they enter a crowded courthouse, usually attorneys get a special line. They get a special line in the clerk's office, so they don't have to wait in line, as their time is valued, but everybody else's is not. So if you're a doctor or a contractor or a journalist or whatever you're doing in your life, you have to take time off, come down to the courthouse and wait in line, whereas the attorneys get to get accelerated so they can keep going on and making more money. But what's really insidious is that the clerk's office here closes at noon on Fridays, so you can't even go in and get court papers. They also do not allow self-represented parties remote access. The sheriffs are waving to us. They're showing us their new transparent through the glass. We've been through this before. So if you're a pro-per self-represented party or a member of the public or a journalist and you want to get court files, you have to physically come down here. You have to pay 50 cents a page. You have to be here when the court clerk's office is open, which is, see, the hours used to be 9 to 5, but the clerk's office now is closing, and they don't even put the hours because they change it so often, and it's always reduced. And so the public, journalists, litigants who are representing themselves have no ability to go in and get their papers when the clerk's office is closed. But lawyers are given electronic access to get into these court files, and they can access them 24 hours a day from the comfort of their office or their home. They can go in, they can look at their cases, they can look at other cases, they can get all of that access, and they can download files, and they don't pay for it. So I want you to think about that. These attorneys who are making $500 an hour in family court and benefiting tremendously from judges continuing hearings and dragging cases out, they get to access the public court files electronically, remotely, and do not have to pay per page for every document they download. They can get into anybody's files. They can look at other cases, how judges are ruling. They can do research. And we, as journalists, can't do that same research. I have spent thousands of dollars paying for that 50 cents a page charge. In my own case, I'm on a fee waiver, so I don't have to pay, but I have to come during the clerk's hours, and they'll often tell me it can take 3 months to get your records. So Michael Sternberg is suing in federal court for a couple of issues, and if you watch his channel, he'll go over what those issues are, but that is one of them, is the lack of access. It's not equitable. It's not equitable to the public, to self-represented litigants. So while we're told we have to be fair and treat everybody the same, The reality is, as applied, these judges are giving these attorneys special favors just because they have a bar card and pay an $800 annual fee. So it's beyond the buddy system. It is the courts profiting from the public, the poor, self-represented litigants who can't afford an attorney, and the attorneys are just increasing their profits, and the judges are really kind of helping them. So let's not forget, judges are attorneys who get elevated to the bench. So Cindy Hendrickson is the judge in Michael's case, and what she did that was the most outrageous was she, first of all, would not give him access to his file. He kept emailing and saying, can someone please give me access to my file? I'm in Nevada. And she actually declared him to be a vexatious litigant for emailing the court. Father in Exile, if you can post that in your community posts and show people what that order looks like, because I didn't believe that until I saw that with my own eyes. So let me tell you what declaring someone to be a vexatious litigant means. In family court, when you represent yourself, if you ask the court something that you've already asked for, they'll say that was res judicata. You shouldn't have asked. It's a final decision. You can't ask again. And they can say that if you do it too often, that they can restrict your ability to A, file lawsuits, and B, file motions in family law cases. So that law was originally intended for people that were doing kind of crazy, vexatious lawsuits. They were going after, if you remember, there were people years ago that were going after those ADA accommodations on restaurants. And I think there was somebody who was doing that. He was a disabled person, and he was going around filing ADA lawsuits on all these businesses and really financially decimating the businesses. And there is something to somebody who is litigious and filing lawsuits all the time. You know, maybe something needs to be done. But in family court, the judges allow and declare people to be declared to be a vexatious litigant after A, they have not made sure that there was fairness in the legal fees, meaning they didn't award attorney's fees when the law said they should have, because the law says that people should have equal access to legal representation in a family law case. And then they restrict that person. It's almost like punishing them for being poor and unable to hire an attorney. And once you're declared to be a vexatious litigant, you have to ask for permission to file any motion. So if you want to see your kids, you have an emergency, you want to move away, you need an increase in support, you can't afford the support that you were ordered to pay because you lost your job, then you have to ask the court, pretty please, can I file a lawsuit? Can I file a motion? And the presiding judge, who is Judge Emity at the time, and you might recall Judge Emity from my last live stream when she was at the Trial Lawyers Association, Judge Emity is the one that decides whether or not you can file a motion. And people who have to represent themselves don't write and speak the way attorneys do. And that really annoys me. So Cindy Hendrickson declared Michael Sternberg to be a vexatious litigant because he was emailing her department too much, and because he was asking for access to his court file. Now, on the other side of that, in that courthouse over there, which is the civil courthouse, where Judge Pennypacker is currently presiding over my civil harassment lawsuit involving Casey Halcone and Nicole Ford, the attorneys for the county council, both Hannah Godby and Sterling Leonard, email the judge all the time about things they want. And they just did that this week, and I'm going to post that in my community posts when I get back. But they just emailed the judge and asked her to use a restraining order to prevent me from saying certain defamatory statements. And that is, I'm reporting on Casey Halcone right now related to the Celeste Watt case. And so any judge that puts a prior restraint on speech, even in a civil harassment order, no judge can put a prior restraint saying, you can't say this in the future. You can't report on the future. And if Judge Pennypacker does comply with the wishes of county council, then we're going to have words about that. So, okay, Mark's going to tell us how it was.
So this is why a good process server doesn't take no for an answer and wears nice jewelry every once in a while. I went up to the courtroom. It was closed the end of the day. I was told to go to the clerk's office, which closed at noon, and it is after 1 o'clock. But I tried the door and it opened. So I sat with the clerk, and the clerk told me I had to go up to Family Court Services and they would accept service. Done, even though I was told to come back on Monday. So I hate spending gas money in California. But she served.
You got that, Father in Exile. Cindy Hendrickson is now served for declaring you to be a vexatious litigant for emailing her department too much, which attorneys do every single day. So we're going to cut out. We're going to go do the rest of our serves. I just wanted you guys to be in here live. That's what it looks like. We served the federal lawsuit for Father in Exile. And if you want to follow what he's doing in that case, he puts it up. And if it ends up going to the Ninth Circuit, he'll have the video that he wants to have. Okay, I'm going to go out now. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the...
Thank you, everyone. Another successful day serving in Santa Clara with the lovely Susan Bassi.
So, and we're going to see you tonight, you guys. We're doing our Celeste Watt podcast with Rights Crispy and San Joaquin Valley Transparency. And that starts at 6 o'clock Pacific time and 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And Rights Crispy is hosting it this week. So we'll look forward to that. But we're going to get Father in Exile serves done at the Court of Appeal and at the Sheriff's Department. And so that will be regular video that I'll be posting over the weekend. Thank you again, everybody, for coming in. Mark, we had 153 people watching you do this. Say one more thing.
Thank you for all the coverage out there. And remember, Andrew's Legal Support Services for all your process serving needs.
And there you have it, you guys. We'll see you tonight.